10:30. It's 10:34, but about to be 10:35 by the time I'm done, so, can Kathy, do you call the roll or who calls the roll? She does. Okay, Kathy, can you please, call the roll and let us know whether or not we have a quorum, and, following that, we'll do the pledge.
Councilmember Borland, just let me know that Waze has her showing up at like 10:45. So
Okay,
just to let you know.
thank you.
Okay. Bailey,
Present.
Kaplan,
Here.
Cates,
Here.
Corradino, Burr, Garcia, Gilbert, Goldberg,
Here.
Borland,
Here.
Kaufman,
Is excused.
Lincoln, here, McGee, Ross, Udine,
Here.
Davila,
John is on with DEP.
Wynn,
Here.
Villaboy,
Here.
Walia,
Yes.
Here, FDOT District 4.
thank you, Geller.
Here. I know we don't have a in-person quorum. Once Councilmember Horland gets here, will we have a quorum?
You will, to the extent that you appoint Commissioner Kaplan to the executive committee to make sure he can serve in that capacity. Because we'll be in better shape legally if you can do that when she arrives.
Okay, we will do that when she arrives. And speaking back, Commissioner Kaplan, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. And justice for all.
Please be seated. And at some point in time, we're going to need to change that to say we'll start at 3 or something, because I've noticed nobody ever says I pledge allegiance, but other than the one leader, and then we will join in, to the flag of the United States. So,
That's leadership for
Right.
you.
so we'll have to just say at count of 3, everybody starts or something. So we'll all get it. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. Can we approve the council agenda in the absence of a quorum?
I think the answer is you can proceed accordingly and then ratify as appropriate.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Lincoln, seconded by Councilmember Kaplan. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, like sign, please show the agenda. Moved, approved, subject to ratification. And I would like to make 2 quick announcements. First, I'd like to congratulate Senator Garcia. Governor DeSantis has appointed him to the South Florida Ecosystem Restoration Task Force. And I'd like to congratulate Councilmember Lincoln, who has recently been appointed to the FDOT Florida Transportation Plan Steering Committee. At this point in time, I'd like to turn this over to Isabel for a moment of silence for one of our former employees.
Yes, thank you. Can you all put on the picture of Gary Manning for the audience? Yes, so it was great. A lot of people don't know because we only been out rather recently. So, we're waiting for her picture to come up. Is it the agenda item now? I should put it.
Yes.
Nice picture. Yes, so, to help take the Brownfields partnership to the next level where Jeff Nuggets enjoyed running it. She worked on, I was the co-regional coordinator and the Brownfields coordinator, and then she became that. And she was a long-term policy, and she left us, which was not okay, because no one really gets to leave the council. You're a council staff, you're always council staff in our eyes. But she enjoyed many good years at the South Florida Water Management District, where she was a policy and planning analyst. So I'll just read this real quickly. So she was born in Evanston, Illinois. She passed away in February of this year. She worked for the Florida Department of Community Affairs from 88 to 95. She was in Marion County for 2 years, and then she was with the Regional Planning Council from October 97, 2008. She, is a really great friend, a great planner, and a true regionalist, environmentalist, and professional. And I know that we worked with her and relied on her very much, because anytime we had anything coming before the council that could have impacted a water resource, Terry, we knew we'd call Terry and she was gonna help us. And yeah, I'm reading here, she was very passionate about brownfields initiatives, the protection of sensitive ecosystems, and affordable housing. Yeah, she always went the extra mile to help us. So she retired. I knew she was like, so it's so sad, she was really looking forward to retiring. She did retire, and I had not heard that she had been going through any sort of struggles until we found out about her passing away. So may she rest in peace. Kimberly knew her. I don't know if you want to say anything about Terry or if anybody wants to say.
Gosh, yeah, I just knew her during her time at the Water Management District. I knew her just to be a consummate professional. I mean, just wonderful with her work there with the Lower East Coast water supply planning.
Yes.
and that work, really important, amazing work she did.
I will ask for a moment of silence in memory of Teresa. And thank you. Thank you. All right, our presentations are time certain. We will skip the action items, because if we take any action item, we'll have to ratify that. So, since I'm expecting Commissioner Horland here in the next 5 minutes, we'll get back to those. Can we, Sam, start on the comp plan amendment review public hearing, or do we need the quorum for that? We'll hold off on the public hearings. Let me ask for Jeff, if you can talk about the SFRPC revolving loan fund, please.
That's a safe place to be, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Appreciate being early. Thank you.
We'll figure out a way to keep you late. Don't worry.
Well, it's one of the things that we don't need to vote on. So, okay.
Good morning, council members. The senior loan officer and manager of the revolving loan fund programs. I'd like to share a brief update for you this morning. In regards to our CARES Act RLF program, to date, the program provided $7.78 million to 36 businesses, and that continues to perform well and is an A-rated program by the EDA for the 2023 annual review. All 36 borrowers are in good standing and current. At a most recent RLF board meeting on April 16th, the RLF board approved a new $115,000 modification increase to Always Keep Progressing, which is a Miami-based children's physical therapy clinic. And that was to help assist with the opening of their third clinic adjacent to HCA Florida Mercy Hospital to support services up to an additional 300 clients. The SFRPC has been an integral part of helping support the growth and expansion of Always Keep Progressing. And with the approval of the additional loan funds will ultimately enable them to serve in the new area that serves Little Havana, Westchester, South Miami, Coral Gables, and Kendall. And Always Keep Progressing wishes to convey their sincere gratitude and thanks to the council here at the SFRPC.
I grew up in Westchester.
Oh, there you go. In regards to the traditional RLF program to date, this program has provided 5.7 million to 28 businesses and continues to actively network and outreach to prospective small businesses in the region as well. The RLF administration team, in conjunction with our Clean Cities coordinator and director, are planning to host a new webinar in October with a focus on providing financial and technical resources to small businesses that support the Clean Cities initiative in South Florida, such as introducing EV vehicles to help reduce the carbon footprint. We look forward to sharing these details with the council of the webinar upon the confirmation of the speakers. As previously mentioned last month, the RLF loan administration team has encountered a small increase in businesses facing financial challenges such as higher operating costs, interest rates, and vendor supply side challenges. Goran Chark, our legal counsel, continues to represent the SFRPC and ongoing collection efforts of Angela Dawson, PA. And further details regarding that can be found in the RLF status report. However, I wish to thank Sam Goring and his team as they were extremely well prepared and demonstrated a high level of case law at the March 18, 2024 hearing that I also personally attended to in regards to the summary judgments. And thank you, Sam, again, and your team. We await the judge's final decision next month on our summary judgment.
Thank you, sir.
In regards to our affordable housing initiative, the Southeast Florida Community Development Board approved the new $1 million loan to the Minority Builders Coalition. That's to support the construction financing of 4 new affordable single-family homes in the Washington Park, Roosevelt Garden sections of Fort Lauderdale, and that's part of the Broward Infill Lot Redevelopment Program. I'm glad to say, thus to date, our affordable housing initiative has resulted in the construction of 33 single-family residential homes to qualified and eligible home buyers earning less than 140% of the average median income. And finally, just a quick update on our SFRPC's Brownfield initiative. The SFRPC continues its endeavor with the EPA to secure up to an additional new $3.5 million in supplemental funding. And that's to help address the cleanup of the former public works site in Hollywood into affordable housing and commercial space, as well as cleanup of the Claude Pepper Park in North Miami. We look forward to the EPA's announcement of this new grant over the next few weeks. And the EPA has recognized our Brownfields assessment and remediation program because we had such successes with 79th Street Corridor, Miami Health District, Homestead, Malibu, dedicated transportation, and Harbor Square. Thank you all again for your support and making a tremendous difference in our communities.
Thank you. I have a couple of quick questions. First of all, comment on the home ownership that he was talking about. We had this discussion at length at the Broward County Commission level. We know that we get the most bang for the buck in terms of affordable housing when we do large rental buildings. But we've also determined as a matter of policy that it's important for us to also do single family homes to create the generational wealth. So there has to be the balance between the two where we need both. And I think we're doing a great job, and Jeff, you're doing a very good job in that area. One or two quick questions. First, and by the way, I assume because we're not bank loans and we're a place that people go to, that we should be expecting to have a slightly higher failure rate than bank loans because
Yes,
the nature,
correct.
right? So I just wanted everybody to understand that, you know, if you're going to do 40 loans, even with a bank, you probably would have a 1 or 2% failure rate. We're probably higher than that, but still, you know, lower than I assume most other comparable agencies.
Yes.
Is it fair to say, Isabel, that I'm sure we're the largest SFR? Do any other SFRPCs in the state do this?
Apalachicola, but Appalachia, I should say, Appalachia Regional Council does, but they have a very small loan portfolio. It's a different population, you know, and And also we've had our program in place for more than 25 years.
So it's fair to say we're the largest.
Absolutely.
Right, okay,
And the most successful.
right.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, finally, just one question. The CARES Act RLF is different from the regular RLF.
Right,
But once we're not getting any more money in CARES Act money, because that's done.
right.
Will they eventually merge? Because I don't know in 10 years or 15 years that there'll
Well,
be a
so-
reason to have the
so
two
but
separate.
I would be
ones. Yeah.
surprised if they would merge per se, but
But we just have two separate funds and,
we do, but what
A and
changed
B.
recently is that the legacy RLF fund was defederalized and sent over to us. So one might expect after some period of time that the same might happen with the CARES revolving loan fund. I'm not sure, but it took a long time for that to happen, but it was a good release for us because it relieved us of a lot of extra reporting that we were having to do.
so we
With
might
respect to
have
that
a
program.
revolving loan fund A and B. We won't still call it 10 years from now.
I think we,
CARES Act.
yeah, I think we can call it what we want
Okay.
when it's ours, but it would be nice, one of the challenges we have is that we would like to find additional resources to lend. For example, the CARES was a windfall. In that it required no local match for those dollars, and it was a lot of money, it was
Right.
$5.6 million plus more. Normally the match is 80%. So that's what happens is that successfully Jeff and Steve have been doing a very good job on our revolving loan fund board, which again, I'd like to thank Councilmember Goldberg and Councilmember Kaufman, because they both served as a council's reps on the revolving loan fund board. But it would be nice to figure out a way to draw down additional resources for the small businesses, because it's a very successful program. But again, we've done so well, we only have like a little pot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Are there any questions for Mr. Tart? Are there any questions for Mr. Tart? No.
Is
Thank you,
the
sir.
Live Local Act, is that benchmarked to 120% of average family?
AMI.
Is it the same standard?
Yeah, workforce housing, 120% or less, yes.
Mhm.
And it's really, depending on the municipality, I mean, there's also covenants in some of the affordable housing we do. There's actually, some of the homes are 80% or less. The only challenge is it's very hard to find, first time and already home buyers that qualify based upon that, the county's income limits at 80% or less for a brand new home, because the cost to construct a new home is what it is in terms of the market rate of construction costs.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. The 120 or less is generally the sweet spot for a first-time home buyer to be able to qualify in South Florida.
In Broward County, the typical subsidy is approximately $50,000 to $60,000. If you're building rental, single family, it's up to $100,000.
Weren't you building something in West or project in West for brownfields or something?
We are currently still in the midst of working with the EPA for Middle Torch Key, the former dump that was on Middle Torch Key. The land was deeded over to Habitat for Humanity, and they were looking to assess and remediate the land. They started too many years ago. There were a lot of challenges because there was a lot of contaminants, because it was a public dump site, which it's no longer. So we've been doing such a great job in the region. We are still working with the EPA now to be able to help give them some additional monies to help address the assessment that's needed over there. So it hasn't been done yet. It's still in the works with the EPA, but we're trying our best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gotcha. All right, I'd like to appoint Councilmember Kaplan as an acting member of the executive committee for today's purpose. Sam, does that mean we have a quorum?
You do,
We do.
no
Okay.
objection, and his appointment, yes.
All right, in that case, while you're up there, Jeff, just to keep Jeff from having to come back up, I will open the public hearing on item number D, the traditional RLF Cornerstone Paving Inc. Chapter 7 bankruptcy principal write-off ratification.
Or E.
Is that, I'm sorry, E, is that, will you be doing that, Sam, or is that Jeff?
Yeah, I'll give
Yeah,
you the
okay,
background.
yes, please. They have both names listed, so.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is an update regarding the traditional RLF program, not the CARES, the traditional RLF. On December 14th, 2023, the SFRPC received a Chapter 7 bankruptcy notification from Cornerstone Paving, which was a minority owned business, 100% owned by Glorious and Roosevelt Walker. They were approved for a loan for $300,000 back in November 9th, 2006, 18 years ago by the previous loan administration. And it has a current outstanding balance of $260,365. Since, it should be noted, since loan inception, the borrower predominantly only paid interest only towards their loan, despite many numerous legal engagements to modify the terms and conditions to address the principal repayment reduction. As a result, the borrower repaid $209,000 over the full loan term, but the majority was applied to interest only. They were established back in 1999. They specialized in asphalt repair and maintenance. And the loan that they borrowed originally was for vehicle acquisition and working capital to help the minority business grow. They were located in Hollywood Boulevard, but they have since vacated since they went bankrupt, and it's vacated now. The loan was secured by a perfected lien on business assets. However, the bankruptcy trustee deemed no inherent value of the remaining assets as determined by an independent auction. Thus, the SFRPC is not anticipating to receive any recoveries to reduce the outstanding principal. So today, the recommendation to the SFRPC board is that on April 16, 2024, the RLF board approved the write-off of the remaining assets of the remaining principal balance. That's $260,365 as a result of the termination and closure of the operating business and Chapter 7 bankruptcy with no anticipated recoveries. So today, the RLF loan administration team seeks the ratification from the SFRPC board to write off the outstanding balance from loan loss reserves that we have budgeted for.
And Mr. Gorin, do you recommend?
We recommend and concur with the recommendation of the professional staff, and only this board can make this decision publicly. The RLF, the loan committee made its recommendation, which is supported by the facts and the evidence and the legal conclusions.
I would like to open the public hearing on this item. Is there any member present in the room that wishes to speak? Seeing none, do we have any member present online that wishes to speak on this item? Only on the Cornerstone paving. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the RLF committee? Moved
Second,
by Councilmember Horowitz, seconded by Councilmember Kaplan. Discussion, seeing no discussion.
one,
Councilmember Kaplan, you're recognized, sir.
just the recommendation from the lawyer for the estate included the prospect of selling the collateral and splitting the proceeds.
Yeah, we tried to address that first. Unfortunately, there was no inherent value of any of the assets. So,
Oh, yeah, we were gonna have to have it all the way.
yeah, it was salvage, we would have, this is also correct.
The point about no equity is one thing, but no value.
No value.
Seeing no addition, is there any additional discussion? Seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor of approving the recommendation of council staff, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Show that adopted unanimously. All right, we will go back to the Roman numeral 4A. First, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lincoln, seconded by Councilmember Kaplan. Are there any additional additions or corrections? Any additions or corrections? Seeing no additions or corrections, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show the minutes adopted unanimously. Financial report, Leo.
the record that includes any member of the council online today.
Yes,
Without their objection, then the item is supported as a matter of record.
Right.
Thank you.
and remember, we have public, we have at 11:15 our presentations time certain. Okay, Leo, you're up.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hope you're enjoying the day as much as I am. So let's say that finance director is so boring, don't judge a book by its cover. You're not that boring. So if we go to page one, you will see that after 7 months of the fiscal year starting, we're doing really well. April 30th is closed. In our balance sheet, it shows that the total assets have dropped to $101,331, as well as liabilities and fund balance for the general fund. Federal, state, and local funds have increased their assets in $41,501, as well as liabilities and fund balance. The RLF, commanded by our friend here, Jeff, had increased their assets in $5,630, as well as liabilities and fund balance. And the Prosperity Institute has increased its assets in $96, as well as liabilities and fund balance. So we go to page two, you'll see our P&L income statement. You will see that our revenues are at 75% of the budget for the fiscal year at 58.33 of the fiscal year lapsed. Our total expenses are at 52%, again at 58.33 of our fiscal year lapsed. Now we're starting our conversations for the amended budget. You will see that there's two lines that are higher than expected, which are office automation and advertising notices, supplies, posages, and PR. That is due to increased costs in the region. But at the same time, they're offset by the low expenses in staff compensation. So we're fine and overall, right? I've added a third page for you to,
You're gonna have to figure out how to fix it better next time.
Yeah. well, hopefully it's clear for everyone, but here you can see the expenses breakdown. I know it's a little light, right? Yeah, next time we'll print it a little.
I'll work on it, it's fine.
You can see the expenses breakdown at the top of the page, where you see that salaries are taking 34% of our expenses. And then you have staff compensation today compared to the budget, and pass-through expenses today compared to the budget, as well as non-personnel expenses. Just a little more graphic for you guys to have a better overview of our financials.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Could you give us a little update on where we are with the audit process?
We are currently working on finishing the trial balance with Joy. Actually, I have to call her today again, so that we get that straightened up. I worked on, this is the third year of our transition from financial model to a different financial model, so you need to adapt the ways you compare both, so that everything is comparable and easy to understand. Hopefully by the end of this week or next week, we'll have a better knowledge and the audit will be finished, all right?
okay, so we are 58.33% through our fiscal year, and what percentage of our budget of our anticipated budget have we spent?
We have spent 52% of our budget.
That's 52%, all right,
That's
so.
correct. We still need to present the amended budget to get it back in line. And thanks to our, of course, to our directors and to our planners, we're boosting our collecting efforts. So hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, we'll have all our grants collected.
Great. Let me ask Isabel a question. I have spoken with the Broward County Administrator to confirm that our increase will be approved. Are we expecting from Miami-Dade?
I expect this.
That everybody, great, okay,
Yes, sir. I'll be obviously reaching out to our board members as well, and also sending you the numbers along with Councilmember
I
Foote.
believe that the increase was from 22.5 cents to 25.
That's
Right.
correct.
As approved by us previously. And again, I've spoken with Broward County Administrator Babson about it,
Thank
so
you.
I'm assuming that,
That was-
Monroe
yeah,
is,
Monroe
right.
too.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, are there any questions of Mr. Bravowski? I'm sorry. Brazowski.
Oh,
I was like,
Sorry.
who's that dude? Yeah.
Leo, All right, any questions of Leo? If not, is there a motion to approve the financials?
Move to approve this exciting.
Second by Eugene.
Seconded by Councilmember Lincoln, and he, yes, recently married even. There's a motion on the floor. Is there any debate? Any debate? Seeing no debate, all those in favor of approving financials, we signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we've got about 9 minutes before we move on to our time certain items. So, C, consent plan amendment reviews. Remember, the asterisks are the ones of property rights. There are no asterisks. So, I will ask our attorney to read the proposed comp plan amendment reviews, after which I will open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, this is item 4C. It's on the consent agenda, but the public hearings as to each, and any member of the public who appeared today to speak for or against the applications is certainly legally able to do so. For the record, item number 4C, the first of which is Broward County 24-01 ESR, Monroe County 24-02 ACSC. Next up, the Village of Biscayne Park 24-01 ESR, City of Fort Lauderdale 24-01 ESR, another City of Fort Lauderdale item 24-02 ESR, City of Fort Lauderdale 24-03 ESR, the City of Homestead 24-01 ESR, Village of Islands Islamorada at 24-01 ACSC. Next, also Islamorada, the Village of Islands 24-02 ACSC, the City of Margate 24-02 ESR. And next up, the City of Pompano Beach 24-01 ER. And last but not least, on the record for item number 4C, the City of Sunrise 24-01 ESR. And that's the items, Mr. Chair.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Gorin. The public hearing on the comp plan amendment review proposed is now open. Is there any member present in person that wishes to testify in any of these items? Seeing none. Is there any person online that wishes to testify in any of these items? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion? Councilmember Kaplan moves to approve the item, seconded by Councilmember Lincoln. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Please show the comp plan amendment reviews proposed, adopted unanimously. Mr. Gorham, please read the adopted comp plan amendment.
Thank you,
reviews.
Mr. Chair. Senator Geller. The adopteds are as follows: Monroe County 23-04 ACSC. Next up, the Monroe County 23-05 ACSC. Next, the City of Coral Gables 23-01 ESR. The City of Dania Beach 23-01 ESR. City of Key West 23-03 ACSC. The City of Miami 23-05 ESR. North Bay Village 24-01 ESR, and last but not least, the City of Parkland 24-01 ESR. Those are the adopted as a matter of public record for consideration by the chair and by members of the council and the public who may have shown up to appear for or against. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Public hearing on the adopted comp plan amendment reviews is now open. Is there any member present? Is there any person present in person that wishes to testify on any of these items? Seeing none, is there anybody present online that wishes to testify in any of these items? Hearing none. The public hearing on the adopted comp plan amendment reviews is now closed. Is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner Horland, seconded by Councilmember Kaplan. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Show this adopted unanimously. We are now on the D Regional Issues Comp Plan Amendment Review. I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted, Christina, with your help, just to give a quick update that, as you know, we are working on a development of regional impact review. We're coordinating the process for City Park in South Miami-Dade County. And we have now moved to the next phase. Sam's aware, of course, we keep in constant contact with him. So we're working on the agreement to delete for the questionnaires. And this is a process that is done in partnership with all the commenting agencies, the counties, to reach agreement on what are the questions that we're going to ask the developer applicant developer to address in terms of the analysis that's needed for the regional report. So that's moving along, and, yeah, do you want to add anything to that, or?
Just that we're finalizing the agreements to delete this week, and we just received comments from the review agencies. I want to thank them for their participation and engagement.
Yes, our review agencies are very helpful. So, that's it, it's just a quick update on that.
Very good. I remember when the RPCs had actual substantive authority back when I was in the legislature. And unfortunately, under Governor Bush or Scott, I think it was Governor Scott, but they removed that authority from us. So, which leads to item F, 2024 council meeting topics. Perfect segue there, because as I have said for years, once we lost our power to have meaningful input on the approval between jurisdictions, I think our main reason for existence is to do regional planning, and we have made very substantial changes and effects in that over the past several years, where we are having every year a joint meeting with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council on an important topic. 2 years ago was on solid waste disposal. Last year was on recycling. We have had our SFRPC meetings. I forget what 2 years ago was. I remember.
We had first, last.
I remember first with mile connectivity. I think that was last year or.
That was last year.
Okay, I don't remember what we did before that. This year, we're doing the coming right up housing for people with mental and other issues. So we're actually, and we've also convened a mayor's conference on affordable housing. And at our joint meetings with the Treasure Coast RPC, 2 years ago, we had a very substantive water discussion. This year, which is the next, we'll get to under item room numeral 5D, the joint meeting, we had a major discussion on property insurance. We're actually doing these important things. In order to keep this up, in order to keep us relevant, we have to keep doing these. So my question is, what do you want to talk about?
If I could.
Yes.
Through the chair, so also one of the things that I would like to know as your staff is what do you want us to bring to a council meeting that you might want to hear about? Like today, we're fortunate to have Kim with us and Jennifer, Dr. Harada is joining us as well. They're going to be giving us some updates. But we have several months to come, so I want to make sure that we're identifying the topics that you're interested in that you might want to bring, or if there's people that you want to bring to the conversation. And of course, the council meeting conversations could be a stepping stone to a larger conversation, but those are more limited in scope, right?
Yeah, we're talking about 3 separate topics. One is these meetings, which will typically, the speakers will talk 15, 20 minutes only. Second one is our SFRPC, which will be, we've had what, 100, 125 people at those meetings.
We're gonna have more at this one.
And then our joint SFRPC, TCRPC, where we're somewhat limited because we have to pick topics that the TCRPC agrees on. So we have just a couple of minutes before we go to our time certain matters. So
If we could go
Yeah.
to the agenda, just, it's not a blank slate. We did start this conversation in November. And then there were broad topic areas that were elevated. But I don't think we're having enough time at this meeting unless if there's something different, but maybe in the next week or two, if you have topics that you would like to suggest that we can talk about at our next meeting and dive a little deeper, that would be great. So at the time in November, we talked about mental health, which we're now addressing. We talked about affordability. I think it was general affordability, not just housing affordability, but we've done a little bit of that through the insurance conversation. We did a little bit of the housing conversation. One, I know that Commissioner Furr and others are the rail transportation, truck transportation. That would be one that we could put together. So that's it. What we try to do is just make sure that topics of regional importance of interest at all three counties.
So I will quickly add that I have an ordinance pending at Broward County Commission to deal with battery disposal that came straight out of our joint recycling meeting that we had. And so, you know,
The EV batteries, all batteries.
yeah, no, it was designed specifically for lithium, but I
Those little,
expanded
the
it,
little
right?
batteries will explode.
Right, right, so that's, and we have
That's
a
great.
ordinance that will be
Mhm.
pending, we're still finalizing that.
That's great.
We have, give us 2 or 3 minutes just for spitballing, and then we'll take up.
Okay.
And again, I'm not asking now which level, whether it's local, SFRPC or joint, but what topics, Councilmember Lincoln?
Thank you, Chair Geller. I'm super excited about this because our coral reefs are so important to us up and down our entire coastline. And I believe that Monroe County is doing some tremendously exciting things with planting 1 million corals and doing coral fragmentations and growing coral, as well as the fact that we just hired a coordinator because the state of Florida gave us $10 million last year, 5 million this year, to do a whole artificial reef program.
Wonderful.
So I would just love to see us, whether it's our small group or the large, and I think we can handle it on a large basis, to do some topic on coral reef restoration, water quality, just, I would love to see that.
The temperature is having a huge adverse impact. I'll
Yes.
tell you, there's been a lot of coral reef studies, and the RPC, specifically South Florida and Fresh Coast RPC, have led the state in this. So
And with the whole nation, because the group of us also went to Washington DC and are getting those funds that was a bipartisan support. So I think that would be just a great topic.
well, I'm going to keep everything in from November that we haven't already done, and we'll be adding to the list of discussion coral reefs.
Mr. Chair?
Yes. Who was that?
Yeah, sorry. First, I want to apologize. I planned to be in person, but my flight was severely delayed from DC last night. But I just want to echo the comment of the council member just said. I asked about that during our last council meeting. I think that's a very important topic. It's crucial for South Florida. So thank you for that, council member.
Thank you, former Chair Bailey. Councilmember Horland.
Quickly, I concur with Commissioner Lincoln, but I just want to add a little bit to the discussion about job apprenticeships and job development. I think that's something that has come out of the pandemic, and now we may be a couple of years out, especially young people who graduated from college at that tail end or during the pandemic. What they're finding is if they were not able to have internships during the pandemic, they are having a very difficult time entering the job market and finding those entry-level jobs because a lot of people don't have the time to train. So I think that's something that, it's really impacting a lot of communities.
Councilmember Horland, if you will contact me. I've been, for the last 6 years, have had a apprenticeship working group. And we meet quarterly. 60, 70 people. I will invite you to those meetings if
Thank
you
you.
contact me. To remind me. Councilmember Kaplan.
Last suggestion, just real quick. Yesterday's New York Times had a piece having to do with the city of Ithaca. The connection between addiction, mental illness, and all the dysfunction you can dream of in life. It's a very complicated policy problem that exists here. I don't know how much discussion, really forward-thinking discussion is happening. The deviation from the criminal justice system into, health interventions lives here, but it's not fully realized or adequately realized. So that could be a topic.
With your permission, what I'd like to do is include that as part of a slightly larger, we're dealing with mental health housing shortly, but the whole issue of mental health treatment, which you brought up, is a critical one. I know I've said many times, I can only speak for Broward, don't know Dade or Monroe, but the largest provider of mental health treatment in Broward County is the Broward County Jail System, which is insane. It is more expensive and less effective. And if we can divert some of those funds to treatment in advance, we can keep them out of the prisons. And it's just not a good place to provide the treatment. So, what I will ask, because we are now 4 minutes behind our time certain, I'm going to ask you to promise me, because normally when we do this at one of our meetings, and I ask for additional topics, everybody says they will, and we receive approximately 0.
They get busy.
So I'm going to ask you to promise to try and get me at least one additional one besides these each.
Promise.
Okay? And Commissioner Udine, that includes you, Commissioner Goldberg, that includes you, Commissioner Councilmember Bailey, that includes you. Chair, former Councilmember Cates, that includes you, is former Chair Kaplan on? Yeah, I don't see,
Kaufman?
no,
No, he's excused.
I'm sorry.
It's not here today.
Okay, Kaufman, sorry. All right, but to all of the other council members, please try and get us at least one additional topic in the next week or 10 days. If I give you more time than that, you'll forget. So at this point in time, I'd like to revert to our time certain items. We have 2 presentations. One from Kimberly Brown, Resilience Director.
It's right here.
I see, from Miami-Dade County Office of Resilience, followed by an update on the CNSF Section 216 flood resiliency study coordination from the Broward County Chief Resilience Officer, Dr. Dorado. So let me now introduce Kimberly Brown. Serves as Director of Resilience Planning in the Miami-Dade County Office of Resilience. Her experiences span both private and public sector work, including more than 15 years of Miami-Dade County. During the time she's worked in a variety of land use and environmental efforts, including facilitation of the 7-year review and update of the county's comp plan. Currently, her work focuses on the advancement of resilience initiatives that allow the county to adapt and thrive in the face of climate-related threats. Ms. Brown also serves as Miami-Dade County's rep on the Southeast Florida Climate Change Compact Leadership Committee. She holds a Master's of Arts degree in Urban and Regional Planning from the University of Florida. Sorry, I'm a double null. And professional certification by the American Institute of Certified Planners. Ms. Brown, thank you for being here today, ma'am. You're recognized.
Thank you, Senator.
Dr.
Gill. I
Otto,
appreciate
you're
that
next.
introduction. Thank you, and I appreciate you giving me some time on your agenda today to talk to you a little bit about our regional efforts on the EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant effort. This is an effort between the 4 counties in Southeast Florida. We received a $1 million grant from EPA. It was a formula grant. All of the states were offered $3 million. And all of the 67, I believe, most populous MSAs were offered 1 million to complete what is essentially a greenhouse gas reduction plan for the region. So that effort is underway. You can go ahead to the next slide. So it's essentially a 2-stage process. You can see it. Like I said, we received, the prior one is fine. Oh. There we go. The planning grant is the one I was describing, where we received $1 million to create that greenhouse gas reduction plan. The first deliverable was what's called a priority climate action plan. That was delivered to EPA on March 1st and is available on the Compact's website if you'd like to view it. That plan actually had funding attached to it. And in, I believe it was March or April, they released the notice of funding opportunity for the 4.6 billion in implementation funding, and the measures identified in that plan were eligible to compete for that implementation funding. And we did submit an application as a region. Dr. Gerardo led that effort. So we're fortunate to have her on today as well. So I'll just go through a little bit and talk to you about where we are in the process. You can go to the next one. Here's our timeline. You can see we were awarded the grant in August of 2023. We're working with 4 different consultants on the effort. We have WSP, Clio Institute is leading our outreach with low-income and disadvantaged communities. We have ICLEI working with us on our greenhouse gas emissions inventory, and FSU is working with us on our benefits analysis to low-income and disadvantaged communities, as well as the larger community, and also on our workforce planning analysis, which will be a major component in this next leg of our effort. And I think relates back to some of what the board was just talking about with workforce. So I'll get into that a little bit later. As I said, we submitted our priority climate action plan in March. We submitted our implementation grant application in April. And our next deadline in August of 2025 will be our comprehensive climate action plan. That plan is building on the priority climate action plan and will include a broader slate of greenhouse gas reduction efforts to 2025. Currently, there's no funding attached to that plan. However, it will put us on good footing to apply for funding opportunities as they come out. And then the last part of the grant, it's a 5-year effort. Excuse me, I'm sorry, a 4-year effort. The last component will be a status report due at the end of the grant period. You can go forward to the next one. So there is the plan that's available on the Compact's website. It outlined reduction measures through 2030. You can go ahead on to the next one. I think it'll talk a little bit about the process that we went through. Well, this is a little bit about what's in it. It shows our regional emissions at a glance, and there's really no surprise there that transportation leads, followed by commercial and residential energy. And our this is under a business as usual projection. It shows our CO2 equivalent emissions under a business as usual projection. Within the plan, we also show the pivots based on the reduction measures and how that will change our trajectory.
What is AFOLU?
It includes agriculture.
And other things, okay.
Yes, I have to.
I wasn't trying to, stump the expert.
Let's see.
Okay.
Stump the chump.
Right.
It's okay, you can say that.
Okay, yeah.
I'll get you the exact one. Okay, go to the next one. So this is the process that we went through. We reached out to all of the counties, obviously the 4 counties, and all of the municipalities within our region, as well as the tribal governments, to identify a list of reduction measures for inclusion within the plan. And this is the process that our consultant went through to identify. We used a bottom-up approach where we took those measures that were identified within the region and vetted them for inclusion. At the same time, they looked at a top-down approach where they identified measures where we could get the most bang for our buck, basically, and prioritize the inclusion of those measures.
If there is anybody trying hurriedly to take notes, we will post this on our website, later today. So you don't have to rush to take notes on it.
Okay, you can go to the next one. And this is an example of how the measures were identified within the plan. It includes 13 broad greenhouse gas reduction measures. 3 of them are tribe specific. And shows the reductions that would be expected under a low, medium, and high adoption scenario. There were a whole set of assumptions under each of these measures that informed the greenhouse gas reduction potential. And then there are detailed projects under each of these measures, which formed the basis for our implementation applications. Okay, we can go to the next one. So just some of the data that came out of the PCAP, it found that the 4 county region should reduce absolute emissions by at least 59.3% by 2030 from the 2019 baseline in order to meet our established targets. And under a business as usual scenario, those would be expected to drop to 12.3% by 2030. And 22.8% by 2050. If all of the measures in the PCAP were to be implemented, it would result in the reduction of an additional 4.35 million metric tons. So it doesn't totally get us there, but the hope is that through this next leg with the broader plan that includes a more comprehensive slate of measures that we can show even greater reductions. So as I mentioned, we partnered with the Clio Institute to engage low-income and disadvantaged communities. We had a survey within the region that garnered over 1,300 responses. 82% were from targeted zip codes, which were the disadvantaged zip codes. So we had a significant showing there. And it was followed by a workshop that allowed for more focused input on the topics identified. These are the responses. I'll just point out, they had several, oh, there it is right there. Financial incentives to improve housing conditions was the top housing priority in all 4 counties. So I'll just point out that, when you looked at the 4 counties individually, I would say otherwise there was a lot of diversity there, but that stood out as something that topped the
You
list
say
in
if
all
this
4
is
counties.
designed to improve energy efficiency, that's what, when you're talking about improving housing conditions, you're talking about making them more energy efficient.
Yes, and I'll tell you the exact wording from the survey. It's within our priority climate action plan. I'll tell you the exact, as soon as I finish this, I have it in front of me. I'll tell you the exact wording of it.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, we can go to the next one. They also looked at the top burdens for LIDAC communities within our region. And you can dig into the report if you want to see them more specifically for your county. You can see here they
I'm
cover
sorry,
things like
Sam, LIDAC is low income.
I'm so sorry, low income and disadvantaged communities.
Okay.
It's actually a term that was coined
I
through the
know the term.
CPRG effort.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. Thank
Okay.
you.
So they looked at the benefits analysis for those disadvantaged communities in both the qualitative respect and quantitative. So it assessed the effectiveness of the proposed reduction measures against 14 qualitative benefits. That's just an example: improved health outcomes, job opportunities, lower energy bills. We see there again improved housing quality, which we'll have to dig deeper into. I imagine that relates overall to the sufficiency of the housing, not only the energy bills. I'm remembering that it went a little bit beyond that. And then the quantitative benefits, including reductions in energy consumption and reductions in co-pollutants. So our next step is to broaden the plan. As I mentioned, the Priority Climate Action Plan through 2030, we're now going to be looking at reduction measures through 2050 as part of this comprehensive climate action plan. So again, we'll go back out to the eligible entities, including the counties, cities, tribal governments, to identify reduction measures for this next step of the process, this next plan that's due August 2025. It includes the PCAP only included analysis of the benefits to disadvantaged communities. This will look again at benefits to disadvantaged communities and the full geographic scope of our 4-county region. It also importantly includes a workforce planning analysis, which I think relates to the conversation the board was having about the priority topics and really thinking about the impacts to our workforce and what kind of retooling is needed to take advantage of the green economy that's coming our way. So I think that that's a really important component of this next leg of the effort. You can go ahead and I'll just touch briefly. So as I mentioned, the PCAP positioned all of the local and tribal governments in the 4-county region to apply for the discretionary funding, 4.6 billion. 4.3 was made available generally, and then 300 million was set aside separately for the tribal governments. So I do know at least the Miccosukee applied for that tribal set aside. And as I mentioned, the 4-county region submitted an application as well, which was due April 1st. We can go on to the next one, and I'll just briefly cover. So our regional application included 3 components. One was a residential energy efficiency program. And we're looking at somewhere around 200 million for the region. It would include a lot of the basic enclosure upgrades and energy efficiency upgrades, including a 15% set aside that could be used for prerequisite kind of improvements like roof repairs and window replacements. And it's estimated to serve over 8,300 households across our region, generating 11.7 million in bill savings. So it's quite impactful if we're able to get that funding. It also included a solar rebate program, just over 51 million for that effort, which would include a rebate for the installation of solar panels on homes. And that one is expected to serve about 7,800 households. And then also it included an EV infrastructure rebate program. We had 18 million there. And that one is expected to result in about 800 new EV charging points across our region if we're able to get that funding. And that would be eligible for public entities as well as private entities would be able to take advantage of that. Those that are located in those disadvantaged communities. Okay, we can go on to the next one. Yeah, so I'll just point out one of the things that's so attractive about that program is that there's no cost share requirement. So we were really optimistic. We came in under the tier A, the highest tier, and we know it's going to be incredibly competitive. So we can go ahead to the next slide. And I think here I have, we can go on past that one. That's just the criteria, and you're welcome to look at it later here. So this is the important part is that, we need any help we can get to spread the word about why this funding is so important for our region and would be so impactful here. And if you need more information about it, you can contact your chief resilience officer in your county. They've been fully engaged, and Dr. Jennifer Hirado has led on the implementation application on this. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. And I will hasten to add that you had Dr. Hirado or Marty Cassini. Marty Cassini's first job out of law school was working for me in the Florida. Had to toss it in. There is people all over the state that are former employees.
7 degrees of separation.
Right.
I've been touched.
Okay, I will ask Dr. Hirado, you're up momentarily, if you can work with Ms. Brown, and between the two of you possibly give us a suggestion for a future either SFRPC or joint SFRPC, TCRPC major seminar topic dealing with resilience, because I'm concerned resilience is just too big of a topic. Like when somebody says you want to talk about water, that's too big. But, maybe whether it's sea level rise, whether it's, a greater efficiency in homes or a project like this. But if the two of you can meet and give us a proposed topic, I'd appreciate that. At this point in time, okay, I would normally ask for questions, but in the interest of time, everybody here knows I like to have my meetings on time. I need to call on Dr. Hirado, not now. So, Ms. Brown, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Jennifer Hirado, who is one of my favorite people. I chair the Broward Water Task Force and our Water Advisory Board, and Dr. Hirado is our staff on that, and wonderful person, national treasure. She's also the Chief Resilience Officer, Deputy Director of Broward County's Resilient Environment Department. Dr. Hirado is responsible for leading climate resilience and environmental planning initiatives for Broward County. We recently held a joint meeting last week with the Palm Beach Water Board, and they were jealous of how much further advanced Broward was than Palm Beach. The areas of particular focus include sea level rise adaptation, sustainable water resource management, shoreline protection, coastal resource conservation, clean energy projects. She works extensively with internal and regional stakeholders. And Dr. Corrado, I've got another 3 paragraphs on you, so she's wonderful, Dr. Corrado.
There you
You're up.
go.
You're up.
I sure appreciate. Thank you, Senator Geller. Let's see. Seems like the screen sharing is disabled.
We're working on it now.
Yeah. It's still disabled. I can try and send the file.
Wait,
over.
no, we just authorized you.
Perfect.
You should be able to do it now.
Thank you. Excellent. Looks like we are good. And can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, thank you. And let me just get into full mode here. So thank you, Senator Geller, again, and to the council for inviting the follow-up presentation. It has already been several months, it seems, since we last had the opportunity to meet and talk about the CNSF project. I'm not sure, but I think Dr. Carolina Moran was intending to be online and present for questions today.
She is.
Excellent. So I just have a few slides just to share a little bit of the progress. So for those who might not have been at the last meeting or who didn't retain all the details, I just wanted to provide a quick overview of where we were when we sat down the last time. And basically, I think I had shared that we were aware that the Army Corps of Engineers staff had submitted a revised scope of work supporting the Section 216 study for Army Corps approval. It was at around 19.2 million at that time, and we were actively encouraging the Corps to move forward with this study proposal. We also knew that the Corps was still being somewhat conservative with regards to the study budget. We were acknowledging that across the 2 counties of Miami-Dade and Broward, that there are between 18-20 structures in total, depending on how you count. And I'm referring to the salinity control structures or the gates on the primary canals that we would want to have addressed as part of this Army Corps study. The Corps had raised new requirements with regards to engineering specifications that would be required for any of the structures that are included in the study. And because that study cost was ballooning, they were looking at reducing the number of structures that they would intend to address at all. And so in our conversations with the Water Management District and the counties, and then with the council, was the conversation of what would it take in order to bring these structures forward. And assuming that there's not enough money in the Army Corps budget, the district was acknowledging, South Florida Water Management District, that through their suite of resources, they would estimate at about $1.5 million per structure in order to satisfy those engineering needs. And so you can see here the estimates were that that would leave 5 structures unaddressed in Broward County, 11 structures unaddressed in Miami-Dade County, and the respective costs. So the conversation held with the council was that of potentially, looking to the counties to try and satisfy that element of the study so that everything could move together in a timely fashion and then the council, I think, kind of had its eye towards the Water Management District and all, the attendees. Well, if that were the case, could the Water Management District provide some level of support? And so that's kind of where the conversation was left, with the correspondence, of course, that had come from the council urging the counties to, actively look to move in that direction. I wanted to share that since that time, There has been some, I would say, very, notable progress in terms of really bringing together the parties on a very focused conversation about the importance of this project and the urgency. And Senator Geller has been the absolute champion for that and was able to join Dr. Wes Brooks, our state CRO, and leadership from the South Florida Water Management District, including Mr. Drew Bartlett and Dr. Moran, as well as the core leadership that was able to attend in this discussion. We had the project managers, Mr. Tim Geisen and Ava Perez, along with Major Corey Bell, who was
and I very respectfully yelled at Corey Bell, but nicely and respectfully, because he carries weapons and I don't.
And plus, I think he might be accustomed to receiving very strong orders. But and the other part of this conversation that was very I think significant was that Dr. Brooks was trying to bring together the full audience with DEP leadership. Secretary Hamilton was going to be in attendance, but there were some conflicts. Nonetheless, DEP had staff had a presence. We had our assistant county administrator in attendance, as well as members of the Everglades or the South Florida Ecosystem Restoration Task Force. And this is the body that's been charged with really kind of bringing together all of the federal agencies and overseeing the efforts of the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan. And they have a technical and policy body, but for some time, we've been having the conversation with them about resilience planning, the importance of addressing the CNSF system. And Dr. Brooks appreciated that this was an opportunity to really bring the work group together with this conversation so that they could better appreciate the magnitude of what's really needed as we look at the CNSF and begin to potentially aid in that conversation as well. But I think that the more significant component was having the initial agencies present, because it was the first time that they were boots on the ground, really looking at the structures, talking about recent events and appreciating, I think, the exposure that we have in our community. I do want to share as well that the same representatives had spent the morning in Miami-Dade County. So they were also looking at the CNSF project down there, as well as other resilience projects, but we only covered the meetings and the locations that were held in Broward County. Oh, and in this conversation, what was really critical was that we came to learn that the Army Corps had just been asked to submit a revised scope of work within the next 2 weeks to yes, again, another de-scoped scope, yet again, to core leadership. So we knew that that was underway, but we had also understood that they were now referencing 2028 as a timeline for completion. And that was in exceedance of the WRDA 2026 timeline that we've been talking about for years, and 2026 being critical because any delay beyond 26 is another 2 years of erosion into the flood risk protections of our community and delays in terms of any funding for the projects. So at this conversation, the state CRO, the South Florida Water Management District, Drew was very adamant, and Senator Geller, all three being very aligned that WRDA 2026 has got to be the target. And I know that the Corps representatives brought that back. Here's just a picture. This is the S13 pump station. This is the only pump station that we have in Broward County. And this is also the location where under extreme high tide, even with the gate closed, there was overtopping of the gate. And so in addition to needing pumps is the recognition that you have to have the gates elevated. They need to really be designed for a condition that is already upon us, and it needs to be, retrofit. And this is probably the best of any of them because there's already a pump, but it's already limited. And then just another, this was a area that contributed to the flooding that occurred on April 12th of last year. So we had visited this site as well. And this was a canal where the water levels had risen 5 feet with that rainfall event, which of course made it impossible for any of the adjacent communities to drain into the canal. And further demonstrating the great dramatic need of needing to be able to move water. Okay, so since that time, so as I mentioned, the Corps acknowledged that they'd been requested to move forward with the scope. Actually, the day of this visit, they said that they had just completed the draft. We understood it was around 12.3 million at this time. The de-scoping that had occurred was that only the 4 structures were included with no conceptual design for any of the remaining structures, which is the only way they were able to get down to this number. However, there were some final tweakings. I don't know what happened precisely, but then my understanding it was left around 15 million. And finally, that was the revised scope that went back to Corps leadership. So what's happened since then? Well, it's still not approved. Informally, we've been told that now there is a desire to try to bring the scope down even further to something like 10 million, which it's just a total confusion about where any of the numbers are coming from. And because they're not aligned with what's required in order to do the work, they're just simply numbers at this point. That is likely going to mean that only 2 structures will be included in the next de-scoped version. I don't know what the timeline is for that next refinement, but presumably it is underway. This is the word from last week. Fortunately, the Broward County Commission was able, and Senator Geller and Commissioner Furr and Commissioner Fisher, there was a lot of Senator Rich, many, if not all, noted the importance of funding for this project, but Senator Geller brought that forward as a priority request at our commission workshop for the dollar amount that was presented in the previous slide over a period of 2 years. So we are very hopeful that that would make it into the county's final recommended budget.
It will.
Okay, thank you, Senator Geller. We also heard from the Water Management District, I believe it was just after this conversation with the council, that the governor had approved $150 million appropriation for the Water Management District. Resilience was identified as a key focus, as well as the CNSF project. Subsequently, the Water Management District has noted that they've advanced an internal request to aid with some of the cost share that was just described. The district has also taken upon itself to continue contracting with teams to keep the work moving. Whether they're still working, I mean, however that's worked out with the Corps, I don't know, but the district is moving forward with that technical work, and it's the same technical work that we need. The Army Corps this time is basically out of internal funds. I think they're talking about moving $100,000 around in terms of their internal budget to get them into the next fiscal year, which is, we can imagine, not enough money to keep anything really moving. So the Water Management District has really stepped up with all of this work, and Carolina has just really been a champion making sure that that's taking place. And then finally,
Dr. Moran.
Yeah, and then finally, we heard from our internal intergovernmental team that Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz has advanced 2 appropriations for this next fiscal year, which we're desperately hoping will be successful. And that includes $2 million for the Section 216 study that we've been talking about, as well as the initial investment for the comprehensive study, which will need to kind of follow. And that's addressing more of the issue of, well, after you get the structures in place, what about the rest of the canals and the banks and the, you know, the widths and the storage? And so there's a lot, and as well, the work that would ultimately be needed up in Palm Beach County and beyond. But those are both significant and hopefully will advance in this year's congressional budget. And then with that, I will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rado. I'll briefly add that when I spoke there and when we spoke recently last week at our joint, you were there, Commissioner Horland, at our joint Broward Palm Beach water boards, I basically very nicely chastised the Army Corps for just a lack of urgency. They don't seem to get the fact that South Florida will be underwater. Speaking specifically for Dade and Broward, we will be underwater, not because from ocean water, but indirectly because as a result of rising sea level, we will be unable to drain when it rains. And the climate, as we know in Broward, is either tropical rainforest or tropical monsoon, depending on how close to the coast you are. So thank you, Dr. Hirado. Are there any questions of Dr. Hirado? Any questions? Dr. Hirado, you're wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Thank
Your
you.
being here. All right, we have
Every time my name is there, Dr. Moran.
Dr. Brand. Did you have any comments? Dr. Moran, did you have any comments? You don't
Sorry,
have to.
I misunderstood. I couldn't hear my name being called. I was like, Doctor who? Apologies for that, Senator Geller. No, I don't have any additional comments. Thank you, Dr. Jurado, for presenting the latest and greatest information. That's exactly what we have here at South Florida Water Management District at this point, and we are working expeditiously with the core team, SAJ team, to be able to, number one, continue the ongoing study. That's our priority right now. We don't want to lose all the effort and resources that we have already allocated on the development of the 216. There is a lot of nuances that for us to continue this study, and we are working very closely and really working together with the SAJ, joining forces to be able to don't pause and don't delay the steps that we are doing right now. And again, appreciate the support from Broward County and Miami-Dade County to demonstrate the urgency of that and work closely with us on alternatives that we are going to be able to develop together with the SAJ team to don't delay this further. So we'll keep working with everybody. Thank you very much.
I did want to say how closely we've been working with the Water Management District, and thank you for your assistance. All right, we have about 3 minutes left, although I am prepared to go as much as 5 minutes late, although not more than that. Let's see. Next, we are on Roman numeral 5D, SFRPC, TCRPC, March 15th.
Well,
joint.
if I could, I'd like to go to the regional conference.
Okay.
Because that
Go.
one's coming up.
I was coming up to that's on the next page. That was the only 2 items I had remaining that I was going to deal with.
No, I have.
Yes, good point. Is there any member of the public present that wishes to comment? The public hearing is now open for public comment. Is there any person present? Seeing none, is there any person online wishing to comment? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Miss,
Yeah, so, I think what we'll do.
May 31st.
Yeah, so we have our conference coming up, our regional conference coming up on May 31st. I'd like to congratulate and single out Geraldo Goldie, who's been working very hard on this along with.
If you don't know, that's
Randy to share.
Senator Garcia's chief of staff.
No, Geraldo is our staff person, Idaida.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm sorry.
Geraldo,
to correct you,
right, I know that.
No, Idaida Mendes Cortaya has
Right.
also been working very hard. That's our, I know it's just so many names that are sort of the same.
Sorry.
So.
Sorry. Okay.
That's okay. So, we're Nova Southeastern University is hosting us. I was looking at the registration list. There's actually very few council members registered, so I'm gonna ask Kathy and Alex to send out a reminder note to please register if you want. You are registered. You're registered. But to the extent that other council members may wish to attend.
What's our
we'd be happy-
registration at? I'm just curious.
Oh, it's high. It's at, we're about 165
Wonderful.
right
And are
now.
you cutting off registration at a certain time?
I don't think we go way past, we probably can take another 30 people, I
Okay.
would think.
Because I'm gonna bring it up at our council meeting.
Yes, yes, I think that we want to try to keep it to 200, because that's even higher than we thought, but Aralda's not in the room right now. So I'm not, at least I can see her.
Okay, Isabel, as I have told you before, if you need help calling council
Yes, no,
members,
I
have
appreciate it.
my staff, I'm
Yeah.
volunteering my staff.
So, we have a great agenda, so I just want you to know that if you look at the topic, it's, and also, we will send you an agenda that can be read. I opened this and it's like, okay, I need a magnifying glass, which is the difference between seeing something on a screen and printing it out. So this will be corrected. But what you will see is that we have, I think, you know, this is such a complex conversation, you can just start it, and other people have started. We're just trying to add some value to the conversation, focusing on how do you, who are the people that can live in housing, where the supportive services that need to be wrapped around that, so that they can stay in housing. And obviously, not everybody on the spectrum is that subgroup that can go into housing and stay in housing. But, I think you'll find that we have great speakers. These folks have been really working hard and volunteering their time over several months as we've been putting this together. So again, I would encourage your participation. And I make a note just to make sure that we've been registering you. Like some extent, and yourself, we registered Senator Garcia. Anyone registering also needs to register their car for parking on the campus. And again, Nova's been very generous. They're hosting us free of charge in terms of the facility. I believe parking.
Yes.
I believe. So just wanted you not to miss that.
This is going to be an absolutely wonderful program, and again, an example of why the SFRPC is absolutely relevant and important in doing regional planning.
Very good.
Is there anything else that you want to bring up on this?
No, sir, just that,
Okay.
you know, it's gonna be here soon, so it's not this
Right.
Friday, but the following. So,
And, you know, 165 people ready. I mean, by the way, 10% of them won't show up, but,
that's okay.
right, but just for food purposes. Okay, so, you will revert to the council, the SFRPC, TCRPC, Roman numeral 5, letter D.
Correct. So this is an update for you. We had a very successful meeting, and I really want to thank Councilmember Lincoln, Councilmember Garcia, and all the Councilmember Kaplan also, who was in attendance. I don't want to miss anybody, but it went a little far flung, further far. So we were met at West Palm Beach TPO. Alex has done a great job of posting all the presentations, all these things on the website, so you can find them there. And
We had a number of, at least one state senator, couple of state reps, I believe. They were very, very interested in the insurance presentation. And it got all sorts of statewide and national coverage. It appeared in several of the national insurance magazines and received widespread statewide coverage.
so your agenda item, in addition to some pictures from the day, also includes the agenda for your review. Again, we had a great update from David Deck, the Executive Director of the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority. We had a great legislative panel. We also had a warm welcome and briefing from Valerie Nielsen, who's the Director of the TPA up there actually, who hosted us. And again, everything was great. We also had, this is a child. This policy paper is a child. It took about 4 weeks of constant research with Senator Geller and Randy to give light to this important policy paper, which really, I'm making light, but this is an analysis of legislation by Congressman Moskowitz that originated some years ago
That I wrote.
with Senator Geller. But it does show how reinsurance is a principal driver of property insurance costs and suggests what can be done in order to reduce those costs. So I will invite you to read it, and of course, you have the
I
expert.
would like to thank Mr. DeShazo because I'm an expert on insurance, know nothing about modeling. And Randy didn't know much about insurance, but is an expert on modeling, financial modeling. So together, that he wrote this wonderful report. So good job. Is there anything else?
The last-
Was there anyone else that was at that meeting that had any comments? If not, can you continue on
Yes.
council highlights?
Yeah, just very quickly, if you look at council highlights, you'll see that we have been very busy. And again, we congratulate Councilmember Lincoln, Councilmember Garcia on their recent appointments. Some of these I pulled out into the main agenda, but we also had a great meeting at the Miami-Dade TPO back in March. And we received some very important information about the agricultural study and also the flood efforts, which we're doing here, flood presentation. And I will say that, just to highlight real quickly, that we, council staff, have been busy preparing grant applications. We have submitted grant to Florida Commerce to look for a community planning technical assistance grant to seek funding to update our strategic regional policy plan, which remarkably works pretty well, but from 2004, there's new issues that need to be looked at and it needs to be updated. We are also submitting an application and was approved by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for funding for Resilience Florida to create a regional inventory and to also assistance of communities. So we can move that forward. As Councilmember Lincoln alluded, we did have a very successful 4-week work group meeting. Councilmember Lincoln was there, Mayor Reichstein, and Marilyn Cava, along with county staff, participating in a conversation. Commissioner Phil was here, Vice Mayor Franklin. We had a nice conversation about 4 weeks, got an update from the Department of Environmental Protection. And that's one of those meetings that we need to get back to now do some follow-up. Haley Osborne's been a great staff member on that. And we have follow-up steps. We've just been so busy that we have to, now we gotta like pause and do all the follow-up that needs to happen. I had the great pleasure of being in Monroe County at the invitation of Councilmember Lincoln last week to provide an update on the South Florida Military Installation Resilience Review. And you've heard about that before. There's a description, the highlights, but that again is one of the activities that we have been very active on. At this point, in the last, I would say 4 or 5 weeks, we've had meetings at the South Florida Ocean Measurement Facility in Dania Beach. We've met at Homestead Air Reserve Base, and we met at Southcom, U.S. Army Garrison in Doral to begin the implementation conversations, trying to position ourselves, well, I should say these installations and communities for funding to start implementing the resilience measures that were identified. We're in the process of seeking additional funding from the Department of Defense because our money from that contract is gone. And I made the decision that I wanted to at least start the implementation meetings, even if we were supporting with council dues, to not lose momentum and also not miss upcoming grants. But I've already conveyed to our project manager that we really need financial assistance from that, because it's not something that we continue to do unfunded. So. I don't know
All
if
right,
you wanna-
I think that was all to the executive director's report.
That was, I took
Okay.
advantage because I feared over
Right.
a minute left.
Right, and we're actually 8 minutes over. So is there a legal counsel report?
In the interest of governmental comfort and otherwise, I have no report this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Is
you for your
there,
donation.
are there any council members' reports? Are there any ex officio reports? Any of our ex officio?
None to
Right back.
report from FDOT District 4 at this time.
Okay,
None from
Anyone-
South Florida Water Management.
anyone else? Anyone else ex officio? If not,
Well, I think
Councilmember-
Dat raised his hand.
Dat, did you have your hand up?
You're on mute, Dat, I think.
We can't hear you, Dat.
Oh,
Dat? No, can't hear you.
Oh.
Sorry, I'll take that as a nothing to report right now. Anyone else? Okay, Councilmember Lincoln, you're recognized, man.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Christina and Isabel for the wonderful presentation that they gave to Monroe County Board of Commissioners last week. It was very comprehensive. It was very well received, and as the past captain and chair of the NAS Key West, Jim Show, who's now a commissioner. I mean, he really enjoyed the time that you spent with him, and the comment he made was, you know, every Naval Air Force station is on the water, and we all need the water, and so it's just really important that we keep our defense stations up and running. So thank you all for what you do.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the SFRPC prior to our adjournment? Going. Gone. We are adjourned.
Thank you for excellent meeting.